You know it's not really.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Raw Impact Africa TV, where we have a lot of information to understand and people need to get, especially what's happening in the state of the nation today. You know, something has really been trending over the week, which is a very sensitive thing. Yeah, it's it's a very sensitive issue, and a lot of people have been looking at it from different perspective. And I decided to invite a few friends, and people who are very, very learned in handling issues to be part of this conversation. And right now, we'll be joining um, Senator Kunle Lawal. He's here, and Dorothy Njemanze too is here. So thank you very much for coming, Dorothy and Kunle. Can you hear me very well?
Yeah, we can hear you. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right.
Yes,
Dorothy, can you hear me?
yes, absolutely. I can hear you.
Okay, let's start with Dorothy. Dorothy, can we meet you? You know, the audience wants to meet you. They want to know you. Just introduce yourself, please.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Dorothy Njemanze, and I'm a safeguarding expert. I am a mediation. I'm a mediator. I I'm a human rights activist. I'm a human being. I like humanity. I do everything in defense of humanity. I'm also unapologetically a storyteller, a filmmaker. I'm Nigerian, born, raised, consumed by Nigeria. And
Okay.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for bringing me on.
All right. Thank you so much, Dorothy. There's another very erudite gentleman. Sir, may we meet you, please?
Okay, good day. My name is Kunle Lawal. I was born the same day as Dorothy. I don't know whether she remembers that. I would say politician. Um, they call me a few names that I don't think I've earned. So, father of political literacy in Nigeria. Um, I love my country. I find everything
Oh,
with
Dorothy,
for
so
love
your
of
birthday
God and the
mates to Kunle.
country.
You don't see him.
Yeah,
Good
she's
people are born
28th.
on this day.
She's
Nice to
28th
see you.
December.
Yeah. 28th of
She's 28th
December.
December now. I know.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I do a lot of work around political literacy. I'm the executive director of the Electoral College Nigeria. I'm a detribalized Nigerian. I come from quite a lot of parts, so I cannot claim any part. Um, I do a lot of work, also trying to teach people to love this country. I'm quite on quite a lot of things. There are a lot of things to me, and it's hard to explain. And one, I think the person that least defines himself is myself. So thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm also well versed on the Constitution and legal. I'm not a lawyer, but well versed with the Constitution.
Okay. All right, and now let's go to the business of the day. Dorothy, let me start from you. Senator Natasha was suspended for 6 months. They said no pay. All her staff too are not going to be paid for 6 months because she brought the issue of sexual harassment to the Senate president and she was suspended. What do you have to say about it? Is it really right for her to be suspended for a case of sexual harassment?
Well, what is right is that if somebody complains of anything, if any of your children came to complain to you and you did nothing about it, it will make the person who is complaining to be bitter. So, as proper human beings, we expect that where a complaint is made, we should have systems in place that promote fairness. Nigeria is Nigeria is the first country, not one of the countries, the first country to be found guilty of gender-based violence by the ECOWAS court in the Dorothy Njemanze and three others versus the Federal Republic of Nigeria case. And one of the things that was held against Nigeria was the fact that we were not given an opportunity, at fair hearing. So if fair hearing is still a problem in Nigeria, then it tells me that
Is it me
Nigeria
or I
has a
can't hear
long
anything?
if fair hearing is
Sorry,
still a
could
problem
you?
in Nigeria.
I said, is it me or I can't hear anything?
No,
I
I'm
can't
hearing.
hear
I
her.
can hear her. I can hear her. I'm hearing her.
Okay, thanks.
Can you hear us now?
Okay.
I can only hear you.
Okay,
Ah,
but I can hear Dorothy very well.
okay, well, like I was saying, the ECOWAS Court of Justice, found Nigeria guilty of gender-based violence because we were not given a chance at fair hearing. And so, if Nigeria continues in denying women a chance at fair hearing, then it tells me that something is fundamentally wrong with Nigeria. Why am I saying this? She complained about bullying, even the sexual harassment that we speak of, the alleged sexual harassment that we speak of, comes on, it's part of bullying. And she seemed to me on the very first day this thing started, when she was making a case for her seat, she seemed to me like somebody who was trying to say enough is enough. She seemed to me like something had triggered her. And she had said things like, um, this NTL, something she said things in, suggesting that she wasn't going to take any more of, the being put down amongst other things, and in fact that she was going to start speaking up. So something made this person get to a breaking point or a boiling point, whatever point we want to peg that at. And whatever made her get to that point, if she wants to let out steam, I think that even being powerful woman in the Senate should not stop her from being able to let out steam. Everybody needs to let out steam. And so, should her being specific on an allegation of sexual harassment earn her a suspension? Absolutely not, especially if, the senators respect what comes from the courts. Because when I think it was Dume, Senator Dume, and a few other people, the court ruled against their suspension for prolonged periods of time because the courts believe that these people were in the Senate in service to their constituents. And so, for selfish reasons or whatever reasons it was, different from whatever would affect their constituents, especially while activities that would affect their constituents are going on the floor. So if somebody is denied access in that moment, it hurts the constituents, and so I don't think it is fair. What has happened to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is that her constituents are being punished and not the senator. So the constituents are being punished through the senator. Is that right? I am totally against it. Is the National Assembly safe enough for somebody to complain about sexual harassment? The answer I would say is no. For years, I have seen the National Assembly as predatory ground. I have seen the National Assembly as a place where my dignity as a woman is tested. Why am I saying so? Because on several occasions, you go to the National Assembly and they tell you things like your dress, something happened to your dress or whatever. If they see your knees, they tell you your dress is too short. But there and there, you go there, or you both go just pass with pink knees. Nobody will tell Oyibo that your dress is short, but my very beautiful black knees, they will be targeting the knees. So I
Hmm.
have a very big problem with this. Or I'm working in the National Assembly and a woman walks up to my back and is dragging my dress down. That's going beyond that boundary and coming into my personal space. I see it as sexual harassment, nothing less. I didn't invite you to touch my body. So why are you coming to touch my body up to the extent that you're adjusting my dress for me? So for the fact that there's certain justifications to continue such practices around that environment, I am not shocked that sexual harassment is trivialized. As a safeguarding expert, I know that safeguarding exists to protect everybody from harm, right? It's supposed to preempt all possible forms of harassment, all possible forms of infringement and violations, and protect people. recognizing the difference in power dynamics. However, it is an anomaly for the National Assembly to be without a sexual harassment policy, and one that also recognizes that Senator Akpabio could be raped or could be sexually violated. A sexual harassment policy would be in the interest of not only the female senators but the male senators. I mean, in the world of today, violation is done to everybody, not only the females, even though it is more to the females. So the absence of a strong sexual harassment policy that details an impartial and neutral body to oversee or listen in or investigate allegations of sexual harassment is a very big setback in 2025. Look, even universities, secondary schools have these things, and they recognize that you cannot, for the sake of fairness, you have to bring in externals, to hear these things. So I think the National Assembly has seriously faulted by not having appropriate things in place to listen to such complaints. And I think the biggest joke of it all was watching a complaint brought against a person being received by the person. Look, I'm an executive of an organization. I sit on several boards, amongst other things. And if there's a complaint against me, I'm expected to relinquish my power for a neutral party to preside over it so that I don't unduly influence the process. Now, the Ethics and Privileges Committee, for instance, who appointed the chairperson of the committee is the same Senate president. So, what is the chance, or what are the chances that there's not going to be a display of loyalty? Those chances are really, really very slim. And I think it has already played out by what has happened with this Ethics and Privileges Committee suspending her against the provisions of the courts, against legal provisions in Nigeria. I think it's a big shame for every person who appended their signature to that. I think they owe Nigeria an apology. It's a very big disgrace to them. And I'm thankful that the information about that is out there. So we know all the people who appended their signatures. They need to apologize to Nigeria. They have let us down. They've taken us close to the stone ages that we thought we left a long time ago. So was it right to suspend her? Absolutely not. Was it right to suspend her, even if it was for the seat thing? I would say absolutely not. We have video evidence of Senator Akpabio himself defending his own seat a while back. How many suspensions did he get? So it's just a power play. He sees this person as a woman. I think he's trying to exercise his power maximally against, a senator that doesn't have as much power. And for what it's worth, I think it is very wrong. It all needs to be toned down. So it tells me that there's a lot. We need to pray for our senators in that place. In fact, I don't think that men who want to speak up in favor of Senator Natasha, for instance, would be able to do it without any reprisals or something of the sort. I'm worried about what is happening in that place. All these things that are happening there should happen in some school that doesn't have regulations, but unfortunately, it's happening in the Senate where laws are supposed to emanate from, and so that's a very big problem for me. Yeah,
All right.
if you leave me,
Yeah.
I'll just turn on.
No problem. I understand your passion, Dorothy. Thank you so much for your expose. Okay, now let's bring up Senator Kunle Lawal. Kunle is the ED of Electoral College. Kunle, do you think what's happening to Natasha now is because she's a lady? Because we need to actually define these things very well. Let us separate it. Is it happening to her because she's a woman, or is it that there's something she was supposed to do that she didn't do? Because everybody seems to be talking more about the sexual harassment part. The idea of the seat arrangement, the seat change, and the constitution that says she's not supposed to sign her own petition, someone's supposed to sign it. What do you really think is the problem? Is it because she's a woman, or because she didn't do what she was supposed to do, sir?
Let me set a clear precedent. The way I look at it, and both can be right. First and foremost, the sexual allegation is separate from what happened or transpired in the Senate on that day.
Mm,
A few senators defected, and I'm not, nobody should think I'm taking any sides. I'm just following what the law says. So, um, seats were moved because people changed. Senator Tambuwal, Senator Jaribe were moved that day, and Natasha spoke. Now, I need to put out this Article 10(1) of the Senate, sorry, 11(1) of the Senate clearly says the Senate President allocates seats. 11(2) clearly states that the senator can only speak, any senator can only speak from their allotted seats.
mm,
When Natasha spoke, she called in Order 10, which is an emergency order, 10(1), which is an emergency order in which a senator can speak. But remember, if for that to be activated, she needs to be sitting in her own seat.
mm,
For me, I feel two things played. Lack of empathy by the Senate president in advising her, considering he had been caught in that kind of thing in 2015 under Taraki and he was suspended for 3 months. But he decided to use exercise full power, which is not wrong. But like I said, he could have used empathy. Senator Natasha herself could have used empathy in her conversations. Remember, this is before any sexual allegation. This is
mm,
critical to understanding what actually went on. The
mm,
sexual allegation happened on Arise TV and was taken to court. We need to understand the precedence of all these things. So I'm focusing on what happened in court, in Senate, sorry, in the chambers first, in the red chambers first. So this transpired. Now, what is critical to note that she announced the sexual allegation on TV, proceeded and went to court to what they call it, to drop those allegations. Now, for her to do that first, there's no need for her to now submit to the Senate Ethics Committee. Separation of powers does not allow. The fact that the case is already in court, the Ethics Committee will need to wait for the court. But here is the funny thing. When Senator Natasha was in the House, she said, I appended my signature. If I'm right, it is 10-4. It should be either 10-4 or 10-6. You cannot, as a senator, append your own personal signature to a petition. I didn't make these laws. I'm just telling you what's going on in the House. I didn't make these laws. I don't have any side. I really don't care. But the point is, we must be, how would I put it? How would I put it? Clear with the turn of events.
mm,
And she did that, and her suspension was based not on a sexual allegation, but on her misbehavior in the Senate preceding the sexual allegations. So you can't mix the two of them. They are two separate incidences. And the
mm,
ethics committee came out and said, because of they didn't state because of separation of powers, but I know because of separation of powers, they cannot deal with a matter that is already in court. That's the
mm,
sexual allegation. They cannot. And besides, she also broke the laws of the articles of the Senate again, signing, appending the same. I didn't make these laws. They are laws of Nigeria. So I think it's 10-4. I can't remember the exact clause, but I think it's 10-4. No senator submitting a petition can append their signature to that petition. It has to be done by another senator.
mm,
So for me, I believe if we are asking for the standard of justice, for me, I believe it must come on all fronts.
mm,
Senator Natasha should be punished. If Senator Akpabio is found guilty of the same issue, he should be punished to the full extent of the law. I'm not, I'm not saying one person is right. I'm saying for what she did in the Senate and the actions preceding the what they call it, preceding somebody saying God will punish me. Nigerians now, you people are emotional. I don't I can't and this is the conversation. I wouldn't subscribe to what what isn't law in Nigeria. We are guided by the laws and principles of Nigeria. And I remain clear on this position. The sexual allegation conversation is totally different from her actions in the Senate. They are two separate matters. The Senate, the ethics has acted. I'm waiting for the court, and I'm seriously, if Akpabio is found guilty, I expect him to be punished to the full extent of the law. And everything I've said can be cross-checked. I call the exact articles in the Senate articles. I'm not. Akunle Lawal is not saying this. This is law of the Senate. It might not be right, but it's the law as of now. They should have changed it. I didn't create the law. And for me, that's my position on. It's not my position, but it's position on law on matters, and that's how I
Okay.
choose to see things.
All right. Okay. So thank you so much. See where I'm really having a problem now. Don't I tell you with us?
Yes, I'd like to quick. Can I make a quick correction?
Please go ahead.
Senator Natasha went to court over the sexual. She alleged what is it? Cyber bullying
Mm,
against Senator Akpabio's aide, who alleged that she was coming into the chambers indecently or something of the sort. That is the meat of what she has in court. And so the sexual harassment thing was not part of that. The sexual harassment against Akpabio thing was what she submitted to the National Assembly. She's clarified this several times, and I thought to highlight it
Okay,
here.
okay, okay, Dorothy. If that is right,
Yeah.
then we also call on 10-4, which does not allow a senator presenting a petition to append their signature on the petition. I watched that video. He said she appended
I
her
hear
signature
you.
to it. That is wrong. That is wrong. I didn't make those laws, though. So don't say it's fully
I
Lawal.
hear
I'm
you
not
loud
the
and
one,
clear.
no.
I hear you loud and clear. But if Senator Akpabio, for instance, was raped, my question is that if other people using supposed African mentality would not append their signatures on his petition to say, "Oh, Senate president has been raped," and I'm using rape, I'm using rape instead of okay, let's not use rape because rape would imply penetration. Sexual harassment doesn't necessarily mean some penetration has happened. There could be verbal, it could just be some degree of inappropriateness, right? But if the
mm,
Senate president, for one, has been sexually harassed by somebody and other people feel embarrassed about putting themselves out, on the sexual harassment thing, and he doesn't find anybody to plead his cause, does it mean that he should swallow the thing? I think now this
Dorothy,
shows us that
Dorothy,
there are
Dorothy,
lacuna.
I didn't make the law now. I
I
didn't.
hear you.
I didn't
I hear
now.
you.
It's not
I'm just
me
like that.
now.
I'm just amplifying that it is faulty, and to think that lawyers have passed through that place and they've not been able to project this, then it is faulty. And the fact it's faulty, I'm going to continue shouting about how faulty it is until something is done about it.
okay, but
And
I
I
think I
agree.
I'm not
where I
shouting
have
at you, I'm shouting at the law. The rules
No,
sit
I
rules.
know it's not me.
where I have a problem is Dorothy. Where I have a problem is now. Why should this sexual harassment issue now is something that happened a year ago? Now she now brought it during this seat changing time. Why did she? Is it not really looking like it's a blackmail? Why she bring it up now?
Okay, Ima, if I get you clearly, you're asking why
Mm,
now? Why speak now? I'll tell you about the freeze, flight, and fight. Those are
mm,
reactions to anything that happens. If you are walking out of your house and you hear something like a cock's gun, you will do one of the three. You will either freeze in shock, you would fight, there could be flight, that's you run away, or
mm,
you will fight, right?
mm.
So
Yes.
these responses can be decided on by anybody at any point in time.
Okay.
We never can tell which of the responses will be used by anybody, but
Mm,
whichever one is used by anybody, depending on the personality kind, they are right. I'll
mm,
remind us of a few sexual harassment issues that have rocked Nigeria and the kind of things that came around with them. There was the COSA situation, in which some
yes.
of them were able to speak up when they grew up. So different things happened at different points in time. Remember that Senator Natasha at some point said, enough is enough. I
Yes.
won't take this anymore. So it may be she was trying to manage it from the sidelines. We don't know all these things. We would only know if there's a proper place, a neutral place where she could be heard. We need something to make us to hear what there is, and that's as simple as it is. So why now? Now is good enough a time.
Mm.
Sometimes you're tired of hanging on, they're tired of holding on. Sometimes there must have been a trigger. My question is,
True.
what was the trigger? So maybe it was that thing that came up and it's like, look, enough from you. Apart from this, there's this, there's this, there's this. Oh, well, and there's also this, which I've been trying to keep. And that seemed to be what played out on Arise TV that day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for the timing, I don't have a problem with the timing. The timing is appropriate.
Mm. Okay, Senator Kunle, I also have a little problem. The way the matter was swept under the carpet, I've had a couple of people talk about this issue. The way the matter was swept under the carpet as if it's not important. Was it right for the Senate President and other senators, even those of the ethics and the ethic committee, to sweep off that matter? If Akpabio's daughter he said he has four daughters, were sexually harassed, and they brought that matter up, would they want to get these flimsy excuses just to sweep the matter off and just forget it? Because if somebody like the Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria cannot have justice for a matter as sensitive as sexual harassment, then what's the fate of a normal Nigerian who is not even in the Senate?
We must critically remember that guilty until proven innocent. You can't, and this is not, and people will say I'm saying this because I'm supporting Akpabio, but that's the Nigerian mental thought. They has alleged, not proven. You cannot make a conversation as if he was guilty. So for me, I believe there should be justice for everybody, but there cannot be justice if we already criminalize people before the outcome. And that's the truth. You can't criminalize anyone. I can only judge Natasha on what's transpired in the Senate and how she acted because there's evidence, there's the law, articles of the Senate. I understand what transpired. When it comes to this sexual harassment and whatever, it is up to her to prove beyond reasonable doubt that Fabio is guilty. And for a neutral, and for me, I believe she should still take the matter to court. That a neutral body would visit the matter and deal with the Senate president and provide justice. So, so for me, I'm not looking at it from a point that Natasha is right, means she was right. What she did that day in the house was totally wrong. It is against, and I can explain about seven senators that have tried it in Nigeria's bar from Oton Zeribe, who was totally suspended indefinitely. Senator Ningi, who accused the pardon of the budget, was suspended for 3 months. And maybe, I'll be honest, maybe this is time to review our laws and say, you know what, you can't be suspending senators for 3 months, 6 months. Maybe it is time. But the truth is that the Senate has the power as of now, as is. And because they have the power as is, we cannot now argue with what is already law. Let's be honest, they all entered that Senate with those articles. Every senator had the opportunity to read those articles and find fault with them. They didn't. But well, we can always say law has its lacunas. So when a particular situation comes, it is now time for review. That is an argument. If this now comes to the point that we now find out they cannot suspend senators again for more than 14 days, as the court asked with Omo Agege's case, that is fine. But every other person has served 3 months, 6 months, 4 months, some indefinitely. Is there much power at the helm of the Senate president? Yes, there is. We've spoken about decentralization at multiple times in Nigeria. So decentralization is key. The ethics committee doesn't even need to come from the Senate itself. It can be taken from a bench with maybe the Supreme Court judges. It could be a bench that is the ethics committee for the Senate. These are things that I think this case has brought out, and we can now sit down and start to have honest conversations over. But if you're going to ask me, you cannot question and ask for justice in regards of Akpabio's case or the alleged harassment without asking for justice in the same in Natasha's misdemeanor in the National Assembly. You cannot. You can't separate it because as of that Friday that she did that thing in the house, there was no sexual allegation talk. There was nothing. So I will treat the matter preceding the sexual allegation conversation. Did she cross the lines of the articles of the Senate? Yes, she did. Should she be punished by the ethics committee? Yes, she should be. To what extent? That's what
Right.
I cannot say. And that's where
Okay.
I'll leave it.
Can I quickly jump in? So I've also heard something around the lines of when seats are about to be changed, that people get emails. They don't just turn up. There's something that notifies you of your new seat. You get emails. But in this situation, it happened differently. They didn't get the due notifications that they usually would get. So if these are the things, for instance, should the person who was responsible for sending those things not be, um, held to account in some way? Do you just spring it up on somebody who came prepared to sit in their regular seat, that they are going to be
Don't-
sitting in a different seat? Was there a deliberate plan to trigger her so that she would erupt and then turn around and use it against her? And of course, there's existing court judgment, and so with the
Dorothy,
existing court judgment, I don't understand why they still do that 6 months.
Dorothy,
Yeah,
justice must be seen
present.
as fair. Justice must be seen as fair. Senator Natasha
Yes,
was not the only seat move that day. Please, let's stop that conversation because it's not true. Let's
what
stick to
makes her?
let's
Why
stick.
does she need to
Let's stick.
accept? Why does she need to accept everything?
Other senators were moved. It is the laws of the
Why
Senate.
does she need
The
to
power.
accept what she does not like because other people decided to accept it? I don't think it makes any sense. That's exactly the same way Joshua came saying
Dorothy,
that
I will not,
most of
Dorothy,
you
I will
cannot be.
not, Dorothy, the laws of
Hmm.
allocations of seats are reserved to the Senate president. The dispensation
I
of it
hear you.
is also up, no, wait, let me finish. It's also up to the Senate president. Everybody else was told by the sergeant of arms. Three people moved from PDP to APC. Seats were changed.
Yeah.
A lot of seats were changed. You cannot say Senator Natata should start putting a misdemeanor in the Senate because how will you
Okay.
justify that now? Then you are not asking for justice now. You are now
Okay.
limiting
So can I
justice
ask
and
another
subjecting
question?
other senators to her misdemeanor because she's a woman. That is wrong.
Oh,
I
no, no,
don't
no, no, no.
see
Absolutely not.
governance is not
Absolutely not.
about genders. It's about a very strict,
Absolutely not.
clear, and cut performance within
Ab-
office. It's not a man or woman thing. If other people
yes,
stuck to it,
absolutely not. But
she could have gone
can
to
I
her
ask a question?
allocated seat and pleaded her conversation. That was not wrong. She
Yeah.
could still do that. And that would not have
Okay.
been bad. She would have been within the ambit of the law of the Senate. But she decided to start
All right.
acting from where she was, which is totally wrong. And that's the truth. It's wrong according to the laws of the Senate, not according to Kunle's laws. You can't make it right.
Okay. I hear
You
you.
can't make it
I
right.
hear
Is she
you
the
very
only
well.
person that was moved? No.
Okay, I hear you very well. But another thing that I have heard also is that um, there were some people before Senator Natasha, right? So how come the movement did not affect the people before her? Why did it jump some people and get to her? So there seems to be, she is complaining that there is some kind of history that is making her not favored and particularly targeted. That is what the long and short of her complaint is. And she's also complaining that there is a sequence of events that leads to moving of seats, and that didn't apply this time around. And again, that in front of her, if there was some movement to be done, it would have affected the people sitting directly in front of her, which about 3 or 4 seats. And so how did it not affect that? So how was she randomly picked from one place and made to jump to another place? These are the things I hear are in her head. And so if these are the situations, was somebody deliberately setting her up so that she'll be so triggered enough to cause some drama and they will suspend her? That's what I'm beginning to wonder now. It's not about whether she's male or female. No. If there was any pre-note, some sort of pre-notice given to people before seats are moved, that's fine. But in this case, did that happen? If it is said it did not happen, why did it not happen? And if you sprung it up on people, do they need to accept what you spring up on them immediately? These are the issues at stake. I don't think that because other people said, okay, it's all right, let's move with it, that she should say, it's all right, let's move with it. If she has something against it, I think she should be able to voice what she has against it. And that's just basic common sense here. So something I'd like to share is that if a kid had mentioned something to me, saying that the kid had heard that there was a lot of bullying being complained of in the Senate, and then the kid had gone to YouTube to go and look for the bullying videos. My question is, should the kid actually find bullying right on, things that the kid can say, oh, this could look like bullying or this amounts to bullying, and this same kid says, oh well, from the things I saw, I see that there's been something before that made this guy need to apologize to the lady. So what kind of bullying is there? And this is the interpretation of a kid, a child. Children are watching. Children are trying to make sense of all these things. And so if what exists in the Senate rule book doesn't make basic logical sense, the question is, should it continue? Because it's bound to hurt people. Did you mute yourself? Because we can see your mouth moving and we can't hear you. Yeah, did you mute yourself?
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Okay, so where I have a problem is it not too trivial seat to degenerate to this kind of issue? I mean, the whole National Assembly, it's still the same environment. Anywhere you sit down, apart from the same president, who is actually supposed to be
I think you think back.
public.
I think you think. Have you heard of the name Rosa Parks before?
Rosa Parks, no?
Let's Google Rosa Parks. Internationally, Rosa Parks is known today to have moved we even know her name at all, simply because of issues of a seat. Seat. Where you sit is strategic. Where you sit, you can be heard from there. So if you can't take my seat away, that's why we talk about the seats at the table, the table being the Senate, right? Don't let anybody shake your seat from you. So I mean, there's no apology whatsoever for that. Trivial. So is it you that is going to tell somebody what is hurting the person, or the person is going to tell you what is hurting them? So
Mm,
Rosa Parks is an American civil rights activist who refused to give up her seat on a public bus.
okay.
you know her refusal to give up her seat on a public bus, it led to something called the Montgomery bus boycott in Alabama. So
Mm,
if you know your seat, you know it's my seat, I'm not giving up my seat. For somebody to attach emotional value to their seat, if there
mm,
was no emotional value attached to seat, why then is there a need to move people around?
mm,
There's emotional value attached to the seat, and so I think that if you want to play with somebody's emotions, you can just decide to move the person's seat around.
mm.
So it's not trivial. No, there's nothing trivial about moving of seats. Absolutely not. Especially where you belong to a group that is often that's often relegated. Your seat is important to you. Yeah.
Okay.
So are you still?
Well, yeah, I'm still here. Okay, so now I think I don't know. We lost school, but another thing I also wanted to talk about right now is we have the percentage of women in the Senate, National Assembly
Mm,
has it's very minimal, and
yes.
the few ones that come now, the kind of treatment they are giving to them. Don't you think it's actually also going to affect women participation in politics with this what we are seeing right now? Because I feel that yeah, there could be a few what's the right word now? They cannot tell us that they are trying to encourage women to come actively and be involved in politics. And issues like this come because I see sexual harassment as a very serious offense. The way and manner it was swept under the carpet, I won't lie to you. I felt really, really bad as a person, you know.
Mhm.
Now, don't you think this is actually going to affect the participation of women in politics in Nigeria?
So let's start from something. I want you to clap
Mm.
for yourself.
I should clap myself.
Yeah, clap for yourself. Great. I'll tell you why I said you should clap for yourself. This is the International Women's Month. This is the Women's Month.
Oh,
And
nice.
one of the things that is celebrated, International Women's Day is on the 8th of March. And accelerate action is something that is, that's the hashtag accelerate action, accelerate action. And what are we
Mm,
accelerating action for? Increase political participation, increase access to justice, increase access to opportunities. These are the things that we're canvassing for. And that's why I
mm,
said you should clap for yourself, because you have made a platform available to speak to the issues of the moment and relate everyday life to the issues of the moment. So fantastic you've done. Remember,
thank you
I
so much.
said that children, our girls today in school, are watching everything that is happening. They're seeing the news headlines. They're
Mm,
seeing people tell all sorts of things. In fact, um, you know that I work in the Survival Support Center, the DNF Survival Support Center, and we also
yeah.
provide support to survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. I can't tell you how badly the news headlines are triggering a lot of survivors on sexual and gender-based violence. I can't
Mm,
tell you how the people who we have on suicide watch have relapsed because of the seeming look of injustice and the justifications for injustice all up in our faces. I
mm,
can't tell you how triggered a lot of survivors are because of the infantilization of a senator of the
mm,
Federal Republic of Nigeria. I can also tell you how heartbroken a lot of little girls are that
mm,
aspire to be senators because they hope to get power to stay away from the degrees of abuse that are resident in other parts of society. So it's like
mm,
even the Senate is not safe enough a space for them to be in, despite the amount of power that resides in the Senate. So where
mm,
else do people run to? Does
mm.
this affect female political participation? Absolutely, yes. Guess
Yeah.
what? There are only four senators in the Nigerian Senate, and out of the four, one has been suspended, meaning that if there's a vote tomorrow, only three female voices are going to participate in that. What does that mean?
Out of 109 senators.
Exactly. That's an abysmal
That's
disgrace, if you ask me.
it's too minimal.
Good. And now we're talking about the reserved seats, for female senators, so that in each state, whether or not um, there's a female senator from the three that are coming from each state, there will be at least one from the reserved seat,
Mm,
from all the states. The reason for that, I'm not surprised that the Senate rules are where they are, as backwards as they are, because the Senate has been run as a boys' club for a very long time. The
boys
issues that
club.
are, yes, it's like a boys' club with a serious boy code, bro code that
Bro
they
code.
hold up. Yes, the bro code
That
in
has
the
to be
boys' club is
protected.
very high. The bro code in the boys club is very high, and so a lot of bad behavior is going unchecked. And one of the
Mm,
bad behavior is not thinking about how things affect women differently from how they affect men.
mm,
And so that attitude towards morality policing and all those kind of things, has
mm,
they've been thriving, they've been having a field day on those grounds, because these are
mm,
things that suit the ego of men. There are things that suit the patriarchy. But for what it's worth, time has come for us to think about the critical things. All the girls that are watching today are the women of tomorrow. All the young women of today are the people that are going to be occupying the Senate tomorrow. Not all senators that started this year are going to see the end of the year. It's not something that they can avoid. It's not something we are wishing on them, but we are aging by the day, right? And so the dynamics in the Senate are going to keep changing. Before you know it, the elections will be by the corner. And these are the critical things that are going to determine a lot of things. Do the people who are there now see the gaps, and are they doing anything actively to bridge those gaps? The answer, in all honesty, I don't think enough is being done. I don't think the right things have been done. So the dwindling female political participation, especially around the Senate, is going to keep getting worse if something is not done about it now. Do I think that the issues that exist now can be solved in such a way that it's not, that there'll be minimal damages? Absolutely. I do think so. I think that egos flared up in different ways and led to the mismanagement of a lot of things. I think that if the other senators were honest enough, they had an opportunity to they had opportunity to step in at the right time, but I think they just thought lightly of everything until
Mm.
everything blew up. And the Senate now became a place that was producing more drama than Big Brother Nigeria.
Yeah, the drama
Oh my
in Senate
God.
is really high. It's really really high.
Big Brother Nigeria has nothing on the Nigerian Senate. It's like but when you think this is what you're dealing with, it's like, you've not seen anything. New thing, So it's important for us to rethink, what do we want our Senate to be? Do we want our Senate to be a house of jokers where human rights are relegated and basic common sense infringements are justified? Is that what we want our Senate to be? Do we want the children of today to have any regards for the Senate? I mean, it hurts me seriously when I heard the different kinds of opinions that different people held when the
The
different
narrative
things.
the narrative is really different everywhere. There's so many narratives. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
from the beginning, when she complained about bullying, a lot of people had a problem with her complaining about bullying. But hello, uh, not too long ago, about 7 months ago, the same Senate president apologized to her. That was the nightclub thing. Why on earth would he tell any other senator, a male senator, this place is not a nightclub? Would he do that? So when people are crying misogyny, when people are crying about all those things, when people are saying, "Oh, you dare not do this to men," even though you have some more power, you dare not do it to them. So there's something that is giving their morale to be misdoing when it comes to women, and whatever that is called bad behavior in our books. Now, this bullying, everything, the Senate needs to be cleansed. The Senate needs to be there to serve the constituents of the people and not
Mm.
to abuse the constituents of the people, right?
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
one other thing that hurts me was when I thought about the people who came out to the National Assembly in protest. Some people came in protest on behalf of Senator Natasha
Mm.
Akpoti-Uduaghan, and some people came in protest on behalf of the Senate President. Oh my! It was a disappointing something number when some women were asked, "Why are you protesting?"
And women were there. They were protesting
Women
for
come and say they don't
Akpabio.
know anything about our Natasha. Oh. They don't know. Say they just tell them to come out and talk. I no go do. I no go do. Woman have insult a man. But why will a woman insult a man? Hello. Why will a woman insult a man? Is why some women left their places. And these things are deliberate to distract people from the meat of it. There needs to
Yeah.
be sanity in the Senate. The Senate
Mm.
represents so serious a thing. Lives are
Mm.
dependent on that. And now I'm
True.
sitting down and asking myself, when there are human rights violations, amongst other things, the Senate plays oversight functions in overseeing some of these things. There are committees that, look into all these things. So,
Mm.
are they being hypocrites? Minding other people's businesses and not giving an opportunity for their business to be minded, especially where there's serious business that needs to be minded? These are the things that beg to answer. I like what Kunle said before we lost Kunle. Kunle said these are the rules in the rule book. He's not the
Yeah.
one that set it. I
Mm.
agree. But have we seen a fundamental flaw in the rules as they are? Absolutely. Would you be happy, Ima, if your daughter tells you, guess what? I'm going to the Senate. Your heart go fly for your mouth. You will beg her, can you look for any other thing instead of go to the Senate? You go find maybe your priest or your babalawo, depending on the one wey you dey do. Say, please, oh, my daughter is going to the Senate. It's dangerous out there. But that's not the idea we think we should have of the Senate. People go there to argue out interests, right? They take positions based on the interests of their constituents and the needs of the persons in their constituents. And so if that is actually what is happening, I think we should keep it a sane environment for all to thrive. If we had had more females in the Senate before now, we would have seen the need to look at how things affect men differently from how they affect women and ensure that the Senate rule books are up to date. So I think that the time has come to fix the Senate rule book, because what exists now, there's some embarrassments that are there, and you can now imagine other countries beginning to talk of reviewing what is in the sexual harassment policies of their senates, and they're thinking progressively because they're seeing the embarrassments coming out from the Nigerian Senate. And I dare say it is embarrassing. I'm very embarrassed about it. If you're not embarrassed about it, I am very embarrassed about it. And I think we should do something about it. So, yes, female political participation is dwindling. The events in the last few days would definitely scare a lot of people away. And again, let me bring this up here. There's a lot of sexual harassment in politics in Nigeria.
True.
I have over the years worked in monitoring elections, building capacity of people to encourage female political participation, both
Mm,
with the electorate and possibly elected or appointed, right? I am a
mm,
strong advocate of the national gender policy, implementation of the national gender policy, because I believe that if the electorate is about 50% of 50% female, 50% male, but the active voters are more female than male,
male.
then
Yeah.
the appointed positions should be 50-50.
True.
I don't even, yes,
I agree with you.
there are two ways that people get to power: through elective positions or appointive
Appoint.
positions.
Yeah.
So appointive positions, I believe it should be 50-50. Elective positions, you may not have much control over that, but every elected position appoints either special advisors or personal assistants or one thing or the other. And so
Mm,
those ones should be thought about on a 50-50 basis. That gives
mm,
more people opportunity to be players in this political space and build
mm,
capacity of men and women alike, right?
mm. Yeah.
So, from my experience with them, many people have said afterwards that, oh, contesting primaries and everything, sexual harassment was part of the things that they faced. So, this is a critical opportunity for us to go back and look at the sexual harassment policies of political parties, not only the National Assembly. Yes,
Mm,
political parties, because every serious politician belongs to some kind of political party, except, of
of
course,
course.
we the technocrats are not, in any political party. As professional services are for hire for the good of the nation, irrespective
Everybody.
of whose political party is at play, right? But
Yeah.
for the other politicians who emerge, everybody is in a political party. If the ideologies of political parties accept sexual harassment or tries to make, in fact, I think the most disgracing thing I heard was that somebody was the person who said that if women do not make themselves cheap, harassment will not come their way. I think that is a disgrace. In the last 1 week, there are people that owe Nigeria apology. They need to kneel down and be apologizing to Nigerians until all Nigerians in the villages that don't have lights, hear the message, that they can now forgive them. But these kind of comments keep coming up because even the political parties are play fields that encourage these bad behaviors, the amount of inappropriateness. So when you talk about International Women's Day, you talk about all these things, sexual harassment in the workplace, it is very glaring. Guess what? Senate is a workplace. If there's nothing that speaks to sexual harassment in the Senate, something is wrong. And it's going to keep affecting the female political participation. So we can't keep hearing stories of people in practice that are being unduly taken advantage of, amongst other things. And we expect our daughters, to aspire to those positions. Some of us, we have coconut head and we can just continue, to be aspiring. But with our daughters, well, we get coconut head past our parents. So maybe these ones will be coconutter than us if there's something like that. Yeah. Are you on mute? Because I see your mouth moving, I don't hear anything.
No. Okay, you can hear me, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I think we are winding down now. Finally, I think our Senate should also try and do more than what they are doing right now. If Akpabio, who is the Senate president, he has four daughters. One of them was sexually abused, and somehow the matter was brought to him. Do you think he's going to sweep it under the carpet the way they swept Natasha's own issue?
You know, one thing I've noticed about these people that have power is that, and when I say these people that have power, I'm talking about everybody, right?
Mm,
As
mm,
long as you are with power, until it becomes personal, it's strange to many people. A lot of people play the ostrich until it becomes personal. When it now
mm,
becomes personal, they start saying, can you imagine my mother, my mama, like one person one time that cracked a sexual harassment joke, and when I took him
mm,
up on it and everything, I said, I wish what has happened to me on your
mm,
mother. He said, how can
mm.
my mama, can you imagine she's saying this kind of thing? You want me to go rape my mama? I say, but you cracked a joke about rape and you're turning around to think your mama,
Cannot be
is more
raped.
precious than I am. So until people understand, it tells us the quality of people we have in powerful positions.
Mm.
Do they think of humanity when they're doing things? If you think of humanity, then you put your daughters in the same position. You put your wife in the same position. And that thing about I can speak for my husband, I can speak for my wife, even the pikin wey you carry for back, as you
You don't
don
know
keep
what
your
they begin
pikin
to
for
for
back,
back.
na you and the pikin dey o, but if the hand no dey inside the cloth, you no know wetin the pikin dey do. You
Down there.
understand?
Mm,
You can't be say some things don't make sense to me. I don't know how they do
mm.
it. Maybe some, maybe through telepathy or something like that. What's the name of that movie, Behind Her Eyes? Maybe through
Then
those
I.
things, I think to
Mm,
do some remote monitoring like that, astral projection, something something. I don't know how it works, but basic logic and basic common sense will tell me that even if anything happens, give people an opportunity to be heard. don't
true.
don't 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 lean towards one side or the other. In this moment, my biggest alarm I'm raising is because there is no fair playing ground that is saying, okay,
At
come, let
all.
us.
None. True.
I don't see any fair playing ground at all to
Mm,
say, come, let us hear and know if there is any meat to your side or your side. And I don't
mm.
think it is a fair playing ground if you are reporting something against me and I am the one that is going to judge the matter.
Presiding, how
Mba.
can he preside? How can he now preside over his own
You will step
issue?
down, you step aside, you will relinquish your seats first so that another person will come up and then do investigations and everything. But again, the Ethics and Privileges Committee in the National Assembly, who appointed the person? Shey they are talking about chair, they are on top chair matter, they are saying it is the Senate President. No be the same Senate President appoints that one. So how
I,
sure are you that there's not going to be that kind of place? So maybe there should be some kind of committee that has members of the Ethics and Privileges Committee observe, has
mm,
ICPC, has independent safeguarding experts like me, has different other people on board, and then we listen to everybody. We hear the meat of everything everybody presents. Has it ever happened that at some point somebody has complained to somebody in times past, you know, about there's so many things that you can use to figure out what happened.
mm,
There are so many things that can corroborate stories, but we
true.
don't know this thing if there's no fair play that is offered. And that's to the sexual harassment part. To the bullying part, hmm, I'm not comfortable with the way. I mean, the way starting from the nightclub time and what brought about the nightclub issue. Senator Natasha got up to defend Senator Ireti,
Mm,
and that was what brought about the nightclub thing. So again, this desperation to paint Senator Natasha as unruly, is
mm,
it, to me? Oh, I'm looking at it like, is it an extension of that time? Is it beef from that time, maybe because you had to publicly apologize. There are just so many maybes we are seeing, but maybe
Okay,
it will
sorry,
be.
sorry. Before you continue, let me tell you one political code. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. Have you heard that word before?
Of course.
So
Well, at
it's
least,
very applicable in politics. You could forgive, but
well,
if not reconcile.
that well, I hear you, and the kind of things playing out now and making me
Yeah,
to wonder if that is the situation. But
very
if
possible.
there was a national assembly that had fair and neutral systems in place that would
Mm,
allow anybody to say anything. I mean, if this is happening to a senator, the times people came to pull down my dress in the National Assembly, if I complained about it, the highest they will say is she was indecently
she
dressed.
was
That is the
innocently
highest they will.
dressed. They say
Me, I
you
was
came
made
to
to wear I was made to wear my driver's trouser. I wore my driver's trouser. The thing no clothes for this place. They said that the fabric of my dress was too close to my skin, and it was light fabric. But if it was a thick fabric, they will let me. The video still dey. I documented that day, and
mm,
I documented it because of how hot I was. So now
mm,
seeing that issues around the bodily autonomy of women are coming up in National Assembly, I am
mm,
one of those that is happy about it. It is
mm,
long overdue conversation for the benefit of our humanity.
mm. All right. It's been a very extensive one. If you're just joining us, we are looking at the case of sexual harassment between Natasha and Akpabio, and I've had our erudite Dorothy Njemanze, my friend, way back, and very powerful activist. So, Dorothy, what have you been up to? Of late. Let us leave the case of sexual harassment first. What have you been up to lately?
How can I
Concerning
leave the
your
case of
projects.
sexual harassment when I run a survivor support center that supports
No,
survivors of sexual and
I want
gender based
to
violence?
know what is happening with your
Okay, I think your
survival
network is bad.
center right now. What are you up to right now?
Yes. So right now, our shelter, because we also run a shelter for survivors. The shelter building is about to be repurposed, and we need to move to another building. And so we're actively fundraising. And I would appeal to everybody to please slide into the DMs of Dorothy Jamanze Foundation. I'll check out our pages. And please, pick up a cause and support. But in this moment, we need massive support to acquire a new building for the shelter. Today, 14 children went to school from our shelter. And these are
Wow.
children at different levels of, different cases. There's all sorts. The perpetrators in some cases are their parents or their family or the teachers or whatever it is. But for what is what, we need increased support. We need the government to be more responsible. And where do I start from? Is it the feeding? How much did the food that you ate today cost?
Food is quite expensive. I dey fast now. No, I used to fast these days so that I will not eat too
Even with
much.
the fasting, the one you ate, how much did it cost? But the
I
reason I'm
can't. I
asking
can't.
you this, imagine a situation where over 20 people are still being fed from private pockets morning, afternoon, and night. Sometimes it is pregnant children that come our way, and we help them to have a roof over their head so that they are safe. Sometimes it's domestic violence that is the situation. But for what is what, feeding of these people in their states of vulnerability is something that is very important, and I encourage a lot of people to key into it. The children need to be in school because the school sessions are not going to wait. You can imagine your children in school, if for some reason they needed to be out of school for 2 sessions, it means that you cannot grade them. They can't be promoted with
Yeah.
only the result of 1 session, right? So
Yeah.
these are the kind of things that are happening to survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. They need to go to hospital, they need to treat injuries they've had, they need to go to court. That's what we do, we support them. And so as much as possible, I beg everybody to please put their money where their mouth is or where their heart is. Why? When that singer, the one that sang Ekueme, Ekueme, you are the living God, there's no one like you. Yeah, when she died, everybody was asking why now? Why did she wait until she died? Why did she not live to
Why,
live?
why didn't she?
Live
Why
to
didn't she leave?
exactly. Why didn't she live to live? So why live to where? The shelter for one that we run is where people live. So that they stay alive, so that they don't make it to your timelines as dead bodies that will make you feel bad. So please, while you're alive, if you're an individual, if you're the owner of a business, a small business, you know, a big business, please support us. It's very
Mm.
important. And also don't forget to support platforms like the platform that is hosting me now, because that's where real stuff happening in the world can be discussed. You know,
True.
it's very critical. So that's what's happening. And then one thing we're doing again is telling stories. I'm a filmmaker, unapologetically so. I'm a storyteller. So documenting the stories of the survivors and victims that we meet is very critical, so that people will stop asking, but why did you not talk when the thing happened to you? Why did you wait until now? You understand the freeze, flight, and fight reactions to different, that can be brought up by different people at different points in times. So we find it very important to tell the stories, and I'm hoping that very soon Ima Eyaba is going to partner with us and we'll do something big, especially now. There's a lot of stories that we need to tell, and be rest assured we're not sleeping on it. Yeah. Ima, so when are we going to make film? You dey hear me? So are you frozen or you are just smiling at me? Oh, well, so yeah, I'm a filmmaker. Of I tell stories that I have seen, and that's are in line with my convictions, and I'm very happy to do so. Yeah, that's what I'm up to. Oh, what else are we up to? So there's the compendium on sector specific solutions that we have come up with just to help people. So if you want to hold your governor accountable, if you want to hold your local government chairperson accountable, or your commissioners in your state, or your ministers, if you want to hold them accountable, please get on the Dorothy Jemaze Foundation platforms and check for our compendium on sector specific solutions. We also have published journals for adolescents, um, because we understand that the mental health of adolescents are not adequately taken care of. And so we have these journals that cater to the mental health of adolescents. So if you have adolescents and you're in school, you can reach out to us, we get you copies. Ima, while you were away, I was talking about some specifics we've done, where we have a
Mm.
publication of sector specific solutions, which we
Mm.
harvested sector specific low hanging fruits. So if you're looking to engage the government effectively from your room, and you don't know, you understand you're angry about things but you don't know what to do about the things you're angry about, please go to the Dorothy Jemaze Foundation platforms. You would see links to the sector specific solutions. You know how to engage on security, peace building, education, all of those, so health amongst other things. And then there's also the journals for adolescents, because a lot of things. COVID was one of the biggest blessings for my organization, because people really
Mm.
don't fund response to sexual and gender-based violence. But when COVID came, we couldn't move around. We could only work from our houses. So all the numerous workshops and seminars that had been budgeted for, people could not hold them. In fact, you had to do what was that thing? Social distancing, which was alien
Mm.
to us. And with social distancing, it meant that if you had a hall that could accommodate 60, you needed to cut your number down to 30 or 25
Yeah.
to meet the social distancing things. And so that period also taught us a lot about mental health and the deficit of access to care in mental health. And a lot of the things that came out was for the consumption of adults. Now, adolescents were left hanging. Adolescents are vulnerable. A lot of rapists and sexual predators are targeting adolescents. So the mental health journals that we have, focus on that. And then there's the little red book that talks of the link between menstruation and mental health. And also, what makes it special is what boys can do about menstruation. Yeah, there's a lot that you can do. It's not only when you get married, because Ima, I'm sure you did not know that there was a lot you could do about menstruation until you got married. Then you needed to be buying sanitary pad and maybe possibly checking out timing and all those things. Who knows? Washing undies or washing bed sheets when they're stained, you know. So there's something everybody can do. But in a nutshell, this is what we've been doing. And yeah, if you leave me, I'll go on and on because I always have a lot to talk about. Ima, are you freezing or you are smiling or you're looking in awe? Your network seems to be poor. Shift your head like this. Oh well, I don't know what is happening with his network. Ca- Are you back? You're just sneaking in and sneaking out. But for what it's worth, I know that he'll want to let you know that he's happy that you joined on the show. I'm also happy that you joined on the show. Don't forget to follow the Dorothy Jemaza Foundation on all our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, X. I'm happy to know what you think about. And if you really need to speak to a therapist, please don't hesitate. Slide into our DMs and um, tell us what you need or tell us what you want to give us. We're happy to do that. Yeah. It looks like Ima is coming back. Um, it looks like he's coming back. Hi, Ima, are you back? Ah, I'm still with you. Okay. Until the actual host of the thing comes back, I guess I'm left here to be the host. I don't know. I'm unable to see the comments. I would have liked to be responding to the comment. Aha. Okay. After senators don't, aha, please people go and sign the petition. Oh yes, there's a petition on justice for Natasha that is going on change.org. And I think that because it's important for a fair play in the Senate, I think that it's not a bad idea to go. Thank you, Zainab. You want me to be president? The elections are by the corner. Please do the needful. I'm ready. I'm here to serve you. Thank you, Deborah Ali. I'm very grateful. Aw, Niger Trekker says you're here for me. Please, oh, thank you. Well, it's amazing how much support Senator Natasha has, and I'm very happy. Everybody's saying justice for Natasha, and I totally see it. Aha, somebody says there's no smoke without fire. If she wasn't harassed, she won't speak out. Well, we can only know if she would speak out if we have a fair hearing for her. I don't know of that yet. Yeah, I don't know of that. But well, those are the comments. And up till now, the host is not back. This keeps me as your host now. Well, do you want me to be hosting this show alongside Ima? If you want, please leave a comment and say it so that he'll see it when he finally catches up. But in the absence of any other thing, thank you very much for joining. I guess this is where we draw the curtains on the show. I love you. Follow us on social media. There's a lot that is going to be coming up,
So
and I
sorry,
look
so sorry.
forward
I
to.
had serious
I
network
look
issues. So
forward
sorry.
to. Welcome. I
Sorry.
hope I held down the house while you were away.
Yeah, yeah, you did. So you were saying something about your productions. I lost it there. I wanted to, that's my forte. I
I was
wanted to.
asking you when are we gonna make film? When we
No,
gonna
no,
make film?
we need to
That
collaborate. We
meant
need
that
to collaborate.
yeah, we would.
There's
We would. It looks like the
something
network is bad.
we are working. Network. All right, can you hear me? Are you hear me? Are you
I
there?
can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, so no problem. I said we are
Yes.
going to work something out. Let's do something on gender balance in this politics thing. They should not use women to get into positions. They should also give them a fair
Una think say una wan give us. We dey here, we dey take
deal.
am. Na so Natasha hold her seat gidigba dey say na
You
trivial matter.
know,
All right, thank you very much for hosting me. I'm very happy to have been here. Thank you
in
so much. I've had fun tonight.
the political dispensation. It's very Raw Impact Africa TV, and we've been looking at the case of sexual harassment between Natasha and Senator Akpabio. The way she was treated, I think it wasn't too correct. No matter what happened, she ought to be given a fair hearing. It's a very serious issue that needs to be given some very serious attention. And we should also start looking at giving women an equal opportunity. I think I loved what Dorothy said, that the Senate has been a bro code thing, all these years. When she said it, this is the first time I'm actually looking at it from that angle, though. When she said it now, I had to think twice. I say, wow, that's true. That's serious. It has been more of a bro code thing. Now, how do you expect the country to be fine? The country to be okay when senators that are supposed to make. I think they should really work on this sitting position thing, because it has been causing a lot of issues. Even someone like Akpabio actually had issues sometime when he came to the Senate and they changed his seat and he was shouting. Today now the tables have turned and he's now the person who is now sitting on someone else. Now tomorrow maybe his daughter or his son will now become a senator and still come to the Senate and they still change seat. The problems will continue. So at what point in time are we going to fix most of these issues and problems we're having? Nigeria is our own. We all are Nigerians, and if there's anything we can do, is how can we help make our country a better place to live in? By God's grace, I've traveled to other countries in the world. I think Nigeria is actually still the best place to live on earth. But it just depends on what we can do to salvage the image that is left. So, Dorothy, what's your final word before we call it a night? Today is, thank God, it's Friday. What's your final word for the night?
Oh, today is Friday. I didn't even know. I see the office. Well, my final word for tonight is Nigeria is ours. Let's make sure Nigeria is habitable for all males, just like it is for all females, and all females, just like it is for all males. You know, we are our best support system. The leadership should work for us. The leadership that doesn't work for us definitely works against us. Get that right. The leadership that doesn't work for us is definitely working against us, and we're going to continually be victims of anything that doesn't work for us. So it's our business to fix the Senate. Please, let's ensure that we have a neutral ground that can ensure the Senate works for everybody. Thank you so much for joining. In my I, this your smile needs to be investigated. Did you mute yourself? Did you mute your mic?
No, no, no.
We
I
can
said, so
see your
what's your
mouth
final
moving.
what's your final word for the night,
I
Dorothy?
don't know. I said that Nigeria is for us.
Yes.
Nigeria is ours. So let us
Mm,
collectively protect Nigeria. We need to
okay.
fix the rot in the Senate. You know, if the
Yes.
leadership does not work for us, the leadership works against us. And if
Okay.
leadership that works against us, we're not going to enjoy them.
True.
So we're our best support system. And please don't forget to support the Jemaze Foundation. We need it very much in this moment.
No,
Thank
Wahala.
you.
We will definitely support you. Thank you so much, Dorothy. We hope to have you again, subsequent times as things unfold. It's not just the Senate issues alone, other policies, other things that are affecting your life.
Well, I'm a very active Nigerian.
Okay.
I'm a political analyst. I'm a public analyst, and I'm very much given to service.
Okay.
So please use me. I'm
Yeah.
at your service.
And also come here to talk about them. And if we have guests you want us to invite, we can always
All right,
take
thank
them
you.
here. It could not have been made possible without all of you coming. So Dorothy, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And in your project, God is going to continue to bless you in our own little way. We'll come around and see what we can do to um, take your course to the next level. You're going to see me this week, I
No,
promise you.
to give raw impacts. You are bringing raw impact to us.
Yes,
Thank you.
all right. Thank you
Permission
so
to
much,
call
Dorothy.
out.
Please, permission
Thank you so
granted. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Good
much.
night.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our podcast for today. Case of sexual harassment between Natasha and Akpabio. Now, we've looked at it from different angles. Some people are for Natasha, some people are for the distinguished Senator Akpabio. Now, for seats to be changed, I think it's important for people to know where they are going to be sitting, because psychologically you're coming to sit somewhere, and when you get to that point in place and you now realize that they've moved you to another place, it's actually definitely going to affect you somehow. So people should see how we can fix our different issues and different problems, and try to see how we can make Nigeria a better place. My name is Emmanuel Eyaba, and I've been your host. And with us was Senator Kunle Lawal. Kunle is the Executive Director of Electoral College, and we also had Dorothy Njemanze of Dorothy Njemanze Foundation. And we had numerous people who actually came around to be part of this conversation. We had Niger Tracker, thanks for coming. We had Zoe Zenita, thanks for coming. We have Joy Achi enjoying, thanks for coming. We have Atiku enjoying, thanks for coming. And I think we have Simon Peter Onwe.